Chief. Have a seat.
Okay.
You can leave your stuff up there. All set? Thank you. Good evening, my name is Jack Dearborn, I'm the chairman of the Ware Zoning Board of Adjustments. This is September 12, 2023 meeting, 7:30 PM start. So we have two cases this evening. We have a case, and we also have renewal of a variance. So we have a case number 14-023, Town of Ware owner, Police Department Chief Chris Moore applicant, 888 Concord Stage Road, East Ware Fire Station, tax map 403-212, rural agricultural zone. Variance, Article 332 was actually, I don't believe this is correct. What is the article?
32.
Yeah, but he's not, he's here for a setback. He's here for a setback.
No, not necessarily.
Well, you don't meet the setbacks.
Right. But that's where I, remember where I had the conversation with the town attorney?
Okay. All right, you're right. Okay, so it's Article 32, Section 32.1, 32.22, and 32.41, 32.61, and 32.64, and others in 32. And applicant is seeking request to erect a 120-foot ground-mounted self-supporting lattice tower made of steel and welded construction at the southeast corner. Okay. So before, and the other one is case 15, 2023, James C. and Kimberly R. Alak, homeowners and applicant, Horse Spring Road, tax map 409-168, residential zone variance, Article 17, Section 1711, applicant are proposing the construction of a residential structure on Horse Spring Road, Class 6 road. Okay, then we have a variance request for extension from Carl D. Landon, tax map 103-018 and number 103-035, Russell Drive. Current variance expires in September 2023. Request was received on 8/10/23. Okay, let me explain how we run the zoning board. We're a land court. As a result of that, we have to follow our procedures, and everybody's due process needs to be maintained, whether you're in a butter or whatever. So the way we run it is, every case, we will ask for a motion to accept. The purpose of that is to see if we have enough information here to hold the meeting. If we get a second, and it passes with at least 3 votes, we'll hold the meeting. Should we be in the middle of the meeting, we find out, hearing this case, that there needs to be additional information, we can continue the case for seeking more information. But usually, we will do a vote yes, vote no with conditions, and sometimes with vote yes with conditions as well. So, for instance, variances. The issue with the variance is that you need to get 3 yes votes on all 5 points of hardship. You don't have to have the same people vote yes for each one, but the tally for each one has to be at least 3. If not, the variance fails, even if it's only for one of the 5. That's the way it works. You have an opportunity to have a rehearing in 30 days. You make the request. We will then consider whether it meets the intent of a rehearing request. We can be very narrow in what we ask for the rehearing for. Doesn't have to be the entire case. Or if we choose not to hear it, and if you have a direct path to a Superior Court. It's out of our hands at that point. So what we'll do is, I'll ask the applicant to come forward. Each case will be taken separately. Applicant come forwards, state their name, where they live, and then I'll ask the applicant to kind of give us a brief overview of what the request is. And then we'll go into the actual meat of the operation, and that is, for a variance, we'll ask them to discuss the 5 points of hardship. And the way we do that is, most people in the room and at home do not have the case in front of them. So rather than just have them to read their testimony, which is written, we'd ask them to read the question, the bolded part of the question, and then read their testimony for that particular point. Once we get that done, we'll go to 2, 3, 4, 5. So all 5 will be dealt with. Anytime the board wishes to raise a question, they're welcome to, through the chair, and then notice to the chair. And then we can go through, once we've done that, I then ask the board if they have any other questions. If there's none, I will shut down the public part of the hearing, and I'll take the time so we know when it is. And then we'll go and we'll deliberate that case. We'll take each one of the 5 points of hardship individually, and we'll ask for a motion, hopefully get a second. We'll do discussion, and at the end of it, we will take a vote. And if you have 3, you got it, and we go to the next one. We do that until it's finished. When that's all done, we go to the next case. Tonight, we have actually 3 things, So before I start, I'll ask the board to identify themselves, and this will be the board for this evening's all 3 cases.
Mark Moretti, member.
Bobby Joe Plamondon, member.
Michael Meyer, member.
Malcolm Wright, member.
Thank you very much. Okay, first case this evening is Chief Moore. If you wish to pop up. Name and where you live, or your occupation, where you reside.
Point of procedure, sir.
Huh?
We have to accept it?
Oh,
The
you-
application.
Yes. Motion to accept the application.
Move to accept, go ahead. Move to accept this application.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mark. And any discussion? Let me just lead off by saying, this is sort of a perfunctory act, him coming here. I think it's best that the town believes this, that even though the town doesn't necessarily have to abide by the zoning, or even by anything else, as far as what they put on the citizens, it's important that the citizens have input and hear what's going on for those people that are concerned. So for this evening, we're gonna run it like a regular meeting. And so, to this end, with that, all in favor?
Aye.
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 5-0. Okay, it's your turn.
All right, so, we took over, Chief Moore, Ware Police Department, 114 North Stark Highway. We took over this project from the town administrator about a year ago because she was a little bit busy. We're using ARPA funding to support this project. We are working with a vendor, two-way communication, to identify locations where we can erect towers to support our radio infrastructure, emergency radio communications infrastructure. Right now, we have very poor radio communications. We identified and Obviously, cost being a priority, when we want to keep costs low, one of the biggest thing is reoccurring fees. When we look at existing towers, most of us want to negotiate a lease, usually a 10-year lease, for those fees ranges in the $20,000 to $30,000 range annually. Obviously, we want to get away with that. We identified towers, 3 towers in Ware, which would let us on with no reoccurring fees. So we needed one more tower. We looked at 2 towers in this area. Both would have cost the town substantially to get on those towers, which is why we looked at this option. We have town property, which is a 0.13 acre municipal property, currently used as a fire station. We are proposing including an emergency services radio infrastructure upgrade. It would include the erection of a 120 self-supported lattice tower made of steel and welded construction, being added to the southeast corner of the lot. Electronic radio components supporting the project would be added to the interior of the existing building. We've already got with the fire station, they're going to clear us a space for our radio components, so we don't have to put an external cabinet out in public view. And there'd be an underground conduit connecting the 2 areas. A retaining wall, since it's a slight slope, may be needed. We won't know until we actually get in there. DPW is going to do the work. A security fence will be put around the tower, and the Board of Selectmen said possibly some landscaping there. But we'll talk about it as we go through the different variances. So going through the 5 terms for the variance. The number 1 in bold. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest. Obviously, this is in the public interest. It is for the health, safety, and welfare of both the employees of the town and its citizens to make sure we can get emergency services when they're requested in a timely manner. If we don't have radio communications or cell phone service, we can't request those services. Been well documented. Radio has been a problem for, I think, about 2 decades now. Number 2, please describe how the spirit of the ordinance is observed. Not completing the upgrades would be a threat to the public safety. So to not propose this project would put the public safety in harm. Number 3, please describe how substantive justice is done. We're applying for the variance on behalf of the town. Again, not granting the variance could cause harm to the public employees. Number 4, please describe how the values of surrounding properties are not diminished. So if you Google it, there are a lot of studies saying the municipal services provided to areas can enhance or decrease value to a property. If you have a good school system, you're going to increase the value. A good police department with low crime, you're going to increase the value of property. A good fire service program, you're going to increase the property value. Plenty of studies out there on that. Obviously, if we're unable to communicate and that somehow impacts crime, life, welfare, safety, that could diminish property. So obviously, we want to provide the best services we can that are reasonable and limit costs. And speaking of costs, when the project was initially proposed, we were looking at about $1.4 million. Since we've taken it over, we're down to about $700,000. So we're pretty proud of that fact. So the 5th, literal enforcement of the provisions of this ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. So we're completing 5B on that. 5B, the definition of unnecessary hardship set forth in subparagraph 5 shall apply whether the provisions of the ordinance from which a variance is sought is a restriction on use or a dimensional or other limitation on a permitted use or any other requirement of the ordinance. Please describe the special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. And this is kind of what I went over. Coverage projections were completed by two-way communications utilizing various existing and projected tower sites in the area. A site which would cover the northeastern portion of Ware needed to be identified. Existing cell towers were first analyzed to determine if they would provide sufficient coverage. However, excessive reoccurring lease fees for space on those towers, $25,000 to $30,000 annually, eliminated them from contention. constructing a new tower on the existing town property, special condition, provided that to be the most financially feasible option where citizens would not be unnecessarily burdened with higher taxes necessary for lease agreements. As radio coverage is directly correlated to elevation, this town property presents the best opportunity to ensure adequate coverage without creating a financial hardship. So reading the ordinance and talking to the town attorney, when you read the ordinance, 32.1 states it's in the intent of this article to encourage carriers to locate on existing buildings and structures whenever possible. 32.3 defines a carrier as a company that provides wireless telecommunications services, also sometimes referred to a provider. The town's not a carrier. So according to the town attorney, by granting that variance in and of itself, it exempts us from the rest of them. Now, I put the rest of them in because that's you guys' decision if you want to grant that variance. We can go through each one. It's fine. But the spirit of the ordinance was to ensure commercial construction had oversight and didn't, I guess, sully the landscape with unnecessary construction or something. This is something necessary, very necessary to the public interest to promote the health, welfare, and safety of everyone, so.
Any questions for the chief? Oh, easy.
Questions, I'm not sure what I asked them.
Sure.
You looked at, the stickiest part about any variance is alternative, whether you can do it this way or that, or the other way, and I heard the numbers. So there's no more feasible solution to this. Because I guess, I'm like I said, I don't know how to ask the question, I'm just kind of curious and ignorant. If I lose my internet, I just get on my cell phone. So I'm left to wonder if radio communications are almost outdated.
Sure.
You can jump right in.
Yeah, all you gotta do is go down 114 and you'll hit dead areas on your cell phone. We hit that
Yeah.
sporadically throughout town, different areas of cell
Right, so they're
coverage.
kind of static, dead spots.
Yep, so we don't know where we have to respond. We have to respond to where people call. We have tried various components on our patrol vehicles to boost the signal and enhance it, so our cell phones are more effective. We still lose coverage on
Right.
occasion. It just depends where we're at, what time of day, what kind of stars are crossed or moons are in orbit, and
So basically, this is the highest, best solution.
most economical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
In that area, we could get on those other two cell towers without building this one, but we're gonna be locked into those expensive lease fees for 10 years, and then we have to go through the negotiation process where I'm sure they'd raise again. So
Gotcha. Thanks.
this is at a one-time cost where no future tax impact, so.
Long-term maintenance costs at the tower and all that?
So we haven't negotiated that with Two-Way yet.
Okay.
Two-Way will be the vendor since they're putting it up. They're familiar with the system.
Right.
We contract with Gulfstown Radio to provide the service. Two-Way also did their their dispatch service, so they're familiar with both ones.
Yeah.
So if we have any problems, it should be a quick diagnosis.
Great.
But that would be on the back end once the tower's completed. The board
Right.
hasn't negotiated that as far as long-term maintenance, but we will be under some type of maintenance contract. Currently, we're under a maintenance contract with a different vendor at about $5,000 or $6,000 a year.
Right.
Somewhere in there.
So it's safe to say that maintenance issue is nothing compared to a long-term lease?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
great. Thanks.
Yes, sir?
No other questions from the board?
I got one. I can assume that the biggest complaint would be the visibility of this. Is that right?
So, actually, I was expecting complaints at the board's direction back in February of this year, I believe it was. I went to 14 residences in that area.
Yep.
I actually made contact with 4. I had a letter typed up explaining the scope of the project, what we're looking to do. Contact me if you have any questions or want any
Sure.
different information. No one contacted me. The 4 people I did talk to, absolutely supportive of the project. Understand it's necessary. And then as we got into the application process, I sent the abutters a letter, again, explaining the project, what we're trying to do, as well as a self-addressed stamped envelope, explaining, you know, so they, and the chairman has a letter, a response from one of those. I believe he's gonna read letter later, and you can see how that was formatted. But if they didn't agree with the project, they were more than welcome to state that, and we relayed that to this board. We did get the one response. I did personally speak with 2 other abutters who had no issue with this project. They support it.
So, and it's a lattice type structure?
Yes.
Just a steeple kind of thing?
Correct. So the concrete base is 11 feet by 11 feet, and then I believe the tower starts, it's 6 foot if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fitting next to the fire
tripod.
station. Yeah, I guess I get it. And then, one more question. It may not really pertain to this, but the financial part of it, is that done, is the town gonna get any money back, leasing the tower to some other communications?
This is
Okay.
just purely for town infrastructure.
Very good.
Only thing that might go in there in the future is if the fire department or DPW.
Something has to jump on,
Yeah, it'd be
yeah.
some type of town system. We wouldn't lease that commercially.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't think it's set up to, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah. Very good.
Okay. Chief, have a seat, please.
Thank you.
Okay, this part of the meeting, we go around and see if anybody wishes to speak. So, to that end, anybody who wishes to speak to this application, approving of butters? Being none, disapproving of butters? Being none, other boards? Whoop, public at large is coming up.
I just want to emphasize the need, which I think a lot of people are very familiar with. You know, I was on the board.
Your name, sir?
Oh, Thomas Clow, 125 Concord Stage Road. I was on the Board of Selectmen for 12 years. I've been off for another 6 years. In all that time, there's been a communication problem, and probably for decades before that. We've tinkered with the system. You know, there were repeaters in several different places, usually on, several different places around town. And they were originally powered by solar with batteries. Then they were switched over to on-site electric power, and it helped a little, but none of this has worked. So we need something so that no matter where in town an officer is, he has a way of calling for help immediately. It has a radio that works. So I am just speaking 100% in support of this because it's way, way overdue. Thank you.
Mr. Clow, are you an abutter or public at large?
Public at large.
Thank you.
It sounds like I escaped from someplace.
Okay. So, Chief, you want to rebut anything, have another point that you want to make? Being none?
You have the one letter of support.
Oh, yes, let me talk about that. Yes, this is from a Michael E. Cook, trustee, 859 Concord Stage Road, Wareham, New Hampshire, 03281. It's basically, I support the project. This is a form letter that's sent back, and it says, I support the project, and additional comments. If it's good for the town of Ware, I'm all in for it. Please keep me informed if any major changes occur beyond the original scope of the work. If not, good luck on the project. So, let me go one more time. Approving about us, disapproving about us, people, public at large, other boards. Being none, at this point, we're gonna shut down the public hearing, and we'll take up each point individually. But I have a motion for prong one.
Move to accept prong one.
Second that. Okay.
Thank you. Any discussion on this?
I just wanted to add that without I mean, it makes sense. Without communication, then there's no sense of having a police department at all, so it absolutely makes sense to me.
The entire purpose of this project is to benefit the public interest.
A functional police department, absolutely, from a communications standpoint. Okay, any, number two? Oh, we gotta vote, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jack, aye.
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 5-0. Okay, number two, please.
Move to accept, prong two.
Second that.
Thank you. Discussion?
I believe the spirit of the ordinance is truly intended for commercial entities. This is, even though it specifically talks about towers not being considered infrastructure, this is infrastructure. This is the town's ability to provide health and welfare for its citizens. So I think what we've covered here covers the base, but honestly, it's almost not even necessary that we be here for this.
I would agree. I think that this application, this variance, in prong two, it says threaten public health, safety, welfare. Well, this does just the opposite by granting it. So, it speaks to it loud and clear.
Thank you. No other input? All those in favor? Mark?
Aye.
Bobby?
Aye.
Jack, aye.
Aye.
Mike? No.
Aye.
5-0.
Move to accept prong three.
Thank you.
Second?
And any discussion? I think the issue on substantial justice, I think, is to the town itself. Because we have a full-time police department, professionally trained and led, and, but we don't have the communications to date that allows us to utilize them effectively across the town. It's spotty, so it's not anything to do with a good road gets it and a bad road doesn't. It's very spotty, depending on the terrain, so I think this will be justice for all. Any other input? No. Okay, vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Jack, aye.
Aye.
Bobby, and
Aye.
Mike. Four,
Move to
please.
accept prong four.
Second.
Discussion? I can't see how this could be considered a diminution of value for surrounding properties.
Yeah, it's just a
mean-
thing we need.
It's galvanized, it'll darken and more or less be a kind of a light gray and blend into the sky.
I'd also add that being a fire department, this is a generally accepted part
Exactly.
of a
Yeah,
fire
yeah.
department to have
It's
a
fitting. It's
radio
fitting.
tower.
Yep.
Agreed.
All set?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bobby, Jack, aye.
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 Okay.
Move to
5-0.
accept prong four.
Is it
Five,
entirety?
I mean, sorry.
In its entirety?
In its entirety, yeah.
I'll second.
Second, go ahead. Yeah.
This gets into,
I would say, like, in this case, the hardship, if this is not granted, would be on the town and its residents because of the loss of the ability to have effective communications, or the possibility that the town would have to go back and take another look at the cell phone providers that are already have towers, and the tax burden that would put on the taxpayers.
okay?
Yeah. Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Bobby?
Aye.
Jack, aye.
Aye.
Mike? Malcolm?
Aye.
Early night.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night, chief.
Thank you.
Okay. We now have another application. application for this evening. Let's go through it real quick. There is a compliance checklist for documentation. There is a application for zoning. There's an application for variance filled out. There is, and signed. Abutters. A bank for Bedford Design. Check. There is a delegation of authority for Bedford Design to speak, and this evening is Craig A. Francisco. He was a licensed surveyor. It's a tax map, more abutters, warranty deeds. Notice of violation. Excuse me, voluntary merger, I'm sorry. I scanned that too quickly. And apparently 3 lots were combined. And then we have, there's actually a map showing what's gonna go on. All right,
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept this application.
thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Being none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jack, aye.
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 Mark. Okay. Let's see here. Mr. Craig, what would you like?
Good evening. I'm going to give you a little history here first. These 3 lots were created in '71. The only frontage would have been Horse Hill Road at that time. Pre-zoning, Horse Hill Road's a Class 6 road. So the only way to get to these lots, as you can see, the lot line is here. So the only way to get here would be to come from River Road to the top of Barnard Hill. Barnard Hill, you can't get down that hill. Just no way.
There was a variance
We did look at
applied
that.
for,
Did it once.
but they withdrew it
Once.
based on the fact that the slope far exceeds the 10%.
Yeah.
And they were never gonna catch up because it just continues down the hill the same way,
And
so.
also had about a 15-foot retaining wall, if I remember right. Beside it, yes. So we designed this off River Road. Okay. So, I don't remember when it was exactly, probably just prior to COVID. We came in for variance for the same project, for the same map, except the only thing changed is there were some lot lines here. There was 3 lots. My clients bought the 3 lots. They were given some advice to save tax money to merge the lots. So they merged the lots. When they merged the lots, I'm gonna first say that I was not on the planning board meeting that night they merged the lots, maybe they wouldn't have, but anyway. When they merged the lots, they changed the status of the property, therefore the existing variance they had was no good anymore. So the variance, yes, expired, even though they had already started construction here. This has been disturbed, construction has started. It's still a little steep, needs a little bit of work yet, but it's, you can drive up it. I did, several times. So the variance is gone. It's also been more than 2 years. Like I said before, it was 3 lots. They did a voluntary merger down to 1. So we're here to get a new variance for 1 house, hopefully with a driveway, garage, whatever, ADU, whatever's allowed in the residential zone. So it could be more than just a house. If they would want a detached garage or a barn or whatever, who cares? That's my history lesson. That's where we are today. If you drive down there, you can see the residential sale sign, and you can clearly see where the driveway is. See, there's quite a bit of work on that. I don't know how long he's done it with the excavator, but anyway, that's my history. Do you want me to go through the 5 points?
Bolded, question and your answer.
Real quick, just clarification. The previous variance was was from Horse Hill?
Was
Or
for
from
two.
River Road?
same way.
The same thing we're asking for tonight?
Same map I have now. The only difference is I changed the date, and changed the owners, and took those 2 lot lines off.
Very good, thank you.
That's pretty much all I did. The previous variance was for 2 houses on 3 lots, by the way, but now it's 1 lot, so we can't do 2 houses. So, just an FYI. So question 1, the variance will not be in contrary to the public interest because the property is within the residential zone where residents are permitted. The residential structure will be set back from Horse Spring Road and will meet all the building codes. The driveway from River Road along Horse Spring Hill Road to access the lot will be constructed to meet the driveway regulations, including emergency vehicles, etc., to access the site. Question 2, please describe how the spirit of the ordinance is observed. The ordinance prohibits issuance of building permits on Class 6 roads. The town has allowed building permits for residential structures on Class 5 in the past. Partial zone residential, so the underlying spirit of the ordinance is to allow residential lot to be used for residential purposes. So really, I'm just asking for the lot to be used as it's zoned. Please describe how substantial justice is done. The lot was subdivided into 3 lots in 71. They've since been merged to create 1 lot that is zoned residential. The lot meets all the zoning requirements for the residential zone except frontage, and that is only because the frontage is on a Class 6 road, Horse Spring Hill Road. Substantial justice will be done because the residential zone lots created in 71 were for this purpose. Please describe how the values of the surrounding properties are not diminished. The area is somewhat rural. It is zoned residential. Proposed structures will be adequately buffered by existing vegetation. The building of a new residential structure on a vacant lot may increase the value of the surrounding properties, providing a new property to measure comparable sales with. The potential alternative uses could be something significantly negative impact. The residential use is not negative. Little enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship. Well, the property's distinguishing characteristic is that the only frontage is on a Class 6 road. The owners explored other options such as, like I mentioned, coming from Barnard Hill, but you're still going to be accessing it from Horse Spring Hill no matter how you do it. The driveway is going to be somewhat difficult, easier than it would have been 4 years ago, but the River Road does provide a better, not quite ideal, access. The view, when you're driving down River Road, you're not going to see anything. When you're driving up River Road, you're just going to see a driveway. You're not going to see a house or anything else. The driveway will be constructed to town specifications. They require 12-foot wide travelway with 2-foot shoulders. There are many other specifications in the driveway ordinance, such as the radius of the curves and the slope, 10% slope. We're going to meet all those regulations, and we will provide a turnaround 50 feet from the house. The proposed use is residential on the lot. The use is consistent with the uses of all the other residentially zoned, budding residentially zoned lots. The hardship question? Well, the access is what distinguishes from the other lots. The access has to be up Horse Spring Road, which is a Class 6 road. As I've said before, the lot was originally it was one part of the King's Grant, but then it was subdivided in 71. The 3 lots have since been merged to a single lot. The granting the variance would allow the use of the lot as intended for the residentially zoned ordinance and the 1971 subdivision. Description of the proposed use. can be residential home on a residentially zoned lot with accessory structures.
Any questions of the applicant? Being none, have a seat, please. This is the time where we figure out who would like to speak. Any approving abutters who would like to speak regarding this? Any disapproving abutters who would like to speak regarding this? Public at large, other boards? Craig, would you like to say anything else? You good? Again, approving abutters, disapproving abutters, public at large, other boards. Going twice. At this point, I'm gonna shut down the meeting at, I think, we're on
8:12.
8:12. Thank you. Okay, motion to accept prong one.
Move to accept prong one.
Second?
Discussion? Well, let me speak for a minute. I propose these conditions for case 15-2023. Class 6, excuse me, road building permit. The following are minimum conditions and requirements for variance approval of a residence on a private road. I thought I caught them all. Class 6 road, Town of Ware, zoning ordinance 1711. Condition 1, the applicant shall be required to post the necessary signs at the transition from a Class 6 in accordance with the Town of Ware sign policy and be consistent with New Hampshire RSA 674-41, 1, and it's C, subparagraph C.
It's vacuum,
What's all that noise, huh?
vacuum.
Oh, gosh. The required road sign policy is as follows. This road has not been accepted by the Town of Ware, or it consists of a Class 5 or private road, Class 6 or private road, which the Town of Ware has no duty to maintain. The town assumes no responsibility for maintenance, including snow removal, nor any liability resulting from the use of the street. RSA 674-41. Condition 2, the applicant shall be required to complete a Town of Ware liability disclaimer and file the liability disclaimer at the Hillsborough County Registry of Deeds and be consistent with the Hampshire's RSA 674-41, paragraph 1, subparagraph C. Okay, condition 3, the applicant shall take the necessary actions to be in practical compliance with the Town of Ware Planning Board subdivision regulation for driveway permanent requirements and the Town of Ware zoning ordinance Article 36. The Town of Ware Public Works Director shall be the authority for interpreting the practical implementation of this condition requirement. Number 4, the applicant shall be required to take the necessary actions to comply with E911 signage requirement for proper residence location identification to support emergency vehicles for life and safety purposes. Any other discussion?
Nope.
With that, I think from the standpoint of the question, will the variance be contrary to public interest? Again, I guess there's very little impact to the public interest. There's a lot of impact to the individual who owns the lot. So I don't see an issue with this.
No.
Okay?
Agree.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mike? Jack, aye?
Aye.
5-0.
Move to accept prong two.
Second.
Discussion? Spirit of the ordinance, it is a residential agricultural zone. The issue is the Class 6 classification of the road, given the requirements we placed upon the road for in order to get a building permit. This negates that issue. So with that, I still think the spirit of the ordinance is observed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yep.
Okay? All those in favor? Mark?
Aye.
Aye.
Jack, aye. Mike?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye. Move to accept prong four.
Three.
Three, excuse me.
Second.
That's 5-0, by the way. Sorry. Go ahead. Made the second? Yeah, substantial justice. I think it's to, I don't think there's any significant injustice to the town of Ware. I think there's substantial justice to the applicant.
Agreed.
Okay? Mark?
Aye.
Bobby?
Aye.
Jack, aye?
Aye.
And
Aye.
Malcolm? 5-0.
Move to accept 4.
Second
Yep.
that.
Okay, I don't see this being an issue with surrounding properties. It is a residential zone. They can only build what's allowed in the residential agricultural zone, I should say. And I don't see that being any other issue. And
Agreed.
I don't think it'll actually be seen from Gould Road, from River Road.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay,
Yep.
Mark?
Aye.
Bobby?
Aye.
Jack, aye?
Aye.
Mike, Malcolm?
Aye.
Thank you.
Move to accept prong five in its entirety.
Second.
Again, this is all about the unnecessary hardship. That's the condition placed by the state, or actually by the legislature and the governor who signed the bill. And this is under RSA 671-33. And it's, it really is the basis for variances, is this an unnecessary hardship? And that's basically the major issue here. I think it would be a significant unnecessary hardship if we took away the issues with the road.
Yeah, and it's not like they're not spending time on this and doing a nice job.
Okay. Mark?
Aye.
Aye.
Jack, aye?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
5-0. Very good. We have a request for a,
Do you have a copy of the conditions?
thank you. Didn't want me to run away with that.
Thank you.
Have a
Good
good
night.
night. We have a extension of a variance. It was sent in at the right time, actually early, so I'll read this very quickly. Carl D. Landon is requesting for variance renewal extension concerning Article 17, Section 1711, Lot 18 and 35 Russell Drive, Ware, New Hampshire, tax map 103-018 and 103-035. Basically requests that this be extended. Motion to extend,
Move to grant the extension.
I'll second.
thank you. Discussion, being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. Okay, we have somebody made us do some minutes here. We would be scot-free at this point. So, let's take on July. Everybody take a few minutes to read this.
Yeah, it's nice, noisy. July, okay.
I don't see
all set?
anything.
Looks good.
Okay, motion to accept August 1st, 2023 minutes.
July, right. We'll be looking at July.
Move to accept July 11, 2023 minutes.
Second?
In discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Yep. Now for May, August 1st.
Looks good to me.
Yep.
All set?
Move to
Yep.
accept August 1st, 2023 minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Being none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to adjourn,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?